Hello, hello. Uh, hasn't been very long since the last time I streamed, so won't be too rusty. That said, it's been a very long time. Oh, hi, Chuck. It's been a very long time since I spun on my e-spinner. Um, I think it's been like at least 6 months, and I didn't do a lot. So what we're doing at the moment is we're going to be finishing up this handmade blend of Flax and Southdown that Chuck is very intent on destroying. Perhaps I should have thought the fact that I'm doing this on my bed through. Oh well. Um, so yeah, we're gonna be finishing up spinning this braid that I made about a year or two ago, just out of curiosity. Um, I've already spun one bobbin. That's about as full of bobbin as you can get when it comes to this heaviness of fiber and the power of this particular e-spinner. And then there's also, as you can see, a little bit on the bobbin. Um, so I think this is probably going to be like finish up this bobbin and then one more bobbin. I'm not sure. It's been so long since I've spun this stuff that I actually don't really know what to expect, which is nice. So one thing about this particular kind of e-spinner is likes to slide around a lot. So I may have to get up and look for some kind of like non-slide thing. I don't know. We'll see. Oh, right. Spin direction. I actually don't know what spin direction I was doing. I have it on S. So it probably was S. I guess we'll see if it starts to just wildly unravel. Not unravel. Okay, we're good. I think I probably have to increase the takeout. So for anybody curious, this is, I think, either a first or second generation. What's it called? Gosh, this is embarrassing. Does it say it on the side? One can only hope. Nope. It does not. Okay. Well, it's basically the cheapest e-spinner on the market, um, for a good reason. It's not a very good e-spinner, I would say. Um, Mostly the take up is a big issue. It's very difficult to control. Everybody I've talked to who has this particular model, which is a lot of people because it's pretty popular, just because it was very cheap. But everybody I've talked to who has this model has had issues with the take up, has issues with battery power. Um, God, if I remember what the damn thing is called, I will tell you. Uh, but yeah, at the moment I don't remember. But that said, like it does spin, and it's not bad. It's not unenjoyable by any means. It's just like fiddly. One thing I really dislike about it is that I have to turn the knob to change the speed or to turn it off, and that just sort of breaks the flow a little. Um, there's pedal attachments. If I ever like get big into e-spinning, like if I can't use my treadle wheel anymore, but also can't drop spindle, but can do this. If that series of events happens, I think I will invest in a better e-spinner. Something with a dial that's closer or a little more convenient to use. Because I like the idea of e-spinning. I just, this particular one, like I said, it's not the best. So this fiber is actually drafting out better than I remember. I remember kind of not liking it. Um, but I am currently liking it. I was a bit late to the stream because I was tearing apart all of my fiber boxes. Oh, hi, Chuck. I was tearing apart all my fiber boxes looking for the rest of this stuff because I could have sworn I had like another 2 or 3 ounces of this blend that I made. And if I couldn't find that, then I at least wanted to find the Southdown and the Flax that I was using to make some more. Because I only have like 10, 15 grams of it. But I couldn't find anything. So I guess this is going to be all of it. I imagine I do actually have the stuff somewhere, and it's just, buried under many, many things, because that would be quite like me. But yeah, basically we're just going to clean up the bobbins so that we can use them for something else later. And I am also really quite curious what it's going to be like what this yarn is going to be like when it's plied and washed. I have never, ever spun, used, or seen a wool flax blend. And I'm sure there's a good reason for that. I know washing it would not be good. Or at least, if this was a garment, if I made a sweater out of this stuff, it would be a huge pain to wash. And not a good idea. But I think it's going to be a bag. And you don't often wash bags, or at least I don't often wash bags. So, yeah, I don't think the washing aspect will come into play. I'm curious if there's other reasons why you don't tend to mix flax and wool. So that's sort of what this experiment was about. That, and I thought the colors just looked nice, and I still think that actually. The flax is, sort of a nice light brown, and then the Southdown is a slightly darker light brown. And I think they just work nicely together. It is very uneven, though. I don't at all remember how I made this prep. I have no clue. I did clearly turn it into a sort of roving and then braid it, but I guess it was probably a bat. Yeah, I don't know. But it's uneven, definitely. The flax and the Southdown are not super homogenized. So there's sections of flax, there's sections of Southdown. And that's not actually really a problem at all. I thought it would be, but it's really not. It still holds together. Drafting it is really, it's really interesting. It's quite an engaging spin, even though I'm not treadling. Just because it's constantly each bit that you draft is different. Has a different proportions of Southdown versus flax. I'm hoping that the audio is okay. I know there's a couple different competing noises right now. There's the clack of the espinner, and then I've got a fan in the background, which I can turn off if necessary, but it's quite hot in here, so I don't want to if I don't have to. But if you have problems hearing me, please do let me know. Otherwise, I will just continue to try and project to the best of my ability, which is not much. On a normal day, I probably could a little more, but my job involves talking to people all day, among other things. And so I've already talked quite a lot. So my voice is a bit tired already. So I'm already running into some take-up issues, as I often do with the espinner. And by take-up issues, I basically mean I'm having to feed this singles pretty hard into the orifice, which is not really what you want. like it's harder on your wrists when you do that, and it's also just it means that it's not really functioning properly. So that's why I don't have any like fully filled bobbins ever when I'm using this e-spinner. It's nice that this one came with 6 because you need all 6 for like a small project. Which this is. I think this is about 1 ounce, I'm guessing. 1, maybe 2 ounces. The other thing about this e-spinner that I am not a huge fan of is that you have this speed dial, right? But as anyone who's worked with treadle spinning wheels knows, the more fiber you have on the bobbin, the slower it's going to go. So you don't actually get a consistent speed. Like if I turn this speed dial all the way up, speed dial being this tiny little thing right here. If I turn the speed dial all the way up on an empty bobbin versus on an almost full bobbin, they are totally different speeds. So it's really, really hard to like get a consistent amount of twist. If there were some sort of like revolutions per minute type gauge, that would be super helpful, but there's not. So I just have to guess, which I don't know. It's harder than you'd think. Like it is definitely a difficult tool to work with in terms of precision. You know, in terms of just getting the job done, it's fine. But if you want to be precise, it requires a lot more thought than like a spinning wheel or a spindle would, because you're actually not in control of quite a lot of what's going on. You're relying on a machine with pretty limited adjustment capabilities and no like readout and very little tactile feedback either. So yeah, I don't know. I feel like I'm sort of disparaging it a lot. I do like this e-spinner. It's not bad. I named it Eno after Brian Eno, one of my favorite musicians. And it is possible to, you know, fall into a nice rhythm of just drafting and feeding, drafting and feeding. The same way that you can with a treadle wheel. So that's good. I think we're getting close to about as much as this bobbin can handle. The battery is definitely dying over time, like for sure. It has a USB cable that I have plugged into my streaming laptop, and I also sort of dropped it at some points. And I think it's not quite getting as much juice as it used to, so that doesn't help. But yeah. It doesn't make a bad noise. I think I remember it sounding worse than it does sound, but I'm actually kind of liking the noise. I have no idea how much of it you can hear, but it is like it's a bit of a rattle, and I do like a rattle. I think that's a decent sound for spinning contraptions to make. Sort of a rattle and a whir. I feel like it's slower than my spinning wheel, just due to debugging maybe. Like it definitely feels slower than my spinning wheel, but it also feels much, much faster than a spindle. Because it is. It's definitely faster than a spindle. And much easier on the wrists. And I do recall at some point I was able to spin this well, or to spin on this e-spinner while lying down, which is quite nice because I've tried supported spinning while lying down and I can't do it. So this is sort of the only lying down spinning method that I know of that works for me. That works for me. Time to undo some more of the braid. I feel like you can tell I made this a long time ago because it's like so stuck together. Well, whether or not you can see that is unclear. Oh, hello. Welcome in. We're doing the e-spinner on your suggestion, actually. And I'm very glad to be doing it because for some reason, I remembered this as having a ton more work that I needed to do on it. And that's like not the case at all. Like there's not that much left. So hopefully we can actually finish up spinning this today and then probably ply it on my treadle spinning wheel later. Maybe tomorrow. I don't know. At some point. Yeah. All right. Yeah, I think we're going to get... Here's all the bits. It's not a lot, but it's a bit of a lot. For reference, this is how full I was able to get the first bobbin. We're working on the second bobbin, which is already partially done. So this bobbin is definitely not going to get full. They never do. It doesn't have enough power to actually fill a bobbin. So we're just going to change them out whenever it slows down too much to really be effective, which is one of the downsides of this e-spinner. I don't think that's the case for most e-spinners. Like this one is, well, you get what you pay for. And it was only about $100. So it was quite cheap. For reference, my treadle spinning wheel was $700. Brand new. I should not have bought it brand new, but I did. So yeah, this thing is cheap, but it does the job. If you have any questions about how the e-spinner works or what it's like, what I'm spinning, happy to answer those. And do let me know if there's too much background noise. I have a fan on, and I can turn it off if I have to. It's always hard to tell whenever I change my setup. Pricey? Yeah. It was a pricey wheel for sure. And then when it comes to e-spinner prices, I'm pretty sure they're expensive, like much more expensive than they were. I haven't looked at the prices in a while, but I wouldn't be shocked if like this sort of model is now going for more like $300 or $400, even though it's all 3D printed for the most part. It's I don't know. Everything always gets more expensive, right? I've seen e-spinner models going for like $1,500, and that was pre-COVID, so they can get real pricey. You're not sure how e-spinners work. Actually, you only know spindles. Yeah, fair enough. So the mechanism for a spinning wheel is fairly similar. The two important things are this like, kind of gear, I guess, is connected to the rotor. So this is what spins. And then you can see I've got, well, maybe you can see, I've got some rubber bands that go up to here to turn this. So basically, the motor produces energy that turns this, and that in turn turns the flyer and the bobbin, which adds twist and pulls the yarn on. And that's pretty much it. So spinning wheels work like treadle spinning wheels work on a bigger scale, and instead of the motor, they just have a, like a footman and a treadle. But otherwise, it's basically the same thing. You've never joined one of these before and know next to nothing about spinning, but you really like the vibe and you're learning a lot. Well, thank you. I'm glad you're enjoying it. It's a very, very dangerously fun subject, I might say. Because like I got into it 10 years ago thinking like, oh, this will be a fun hobby. And then half an hour ago, I was picking through my like 50 pounds of wool looking for a specific thing. So it does draw you in. Just a fair warning on that. It's very like meditative and grounding, I guess. Like constantly making these motions to produce something out of your hands is a very enjoyable experience. See if we can fit a tiny bit more on. It's not like I'm going to run out of bobbins or anything like that. I do have 4 empty ones sitting next to me. But changing the bobbins out is a pain on this particular e-spinner, so I don't necessarily want to do it continually. Yeah, I think the noise is really growing on me, actually. I definitely remember that it used to annoy me, but now I'm liking it. It's got that sort of like plethora of noises that spinning sort of always has to me. Like I like that it's a whole bunch of little noises combined. I don't know how well you can hear it, but hopefully well enough to enjoy it. I can probably also move the camera way closer. I just had it set up there because it's convenient, and because I can still read the chat that way. But I could always like change it up. It's a good background noise through the stream. It's less woody than the treadle wheel, but still very soothing. Yeah, I think that's pretty accurate to how it is. Like it's front and center noise for me, just because it is literally in front of me. But it is like if I were sitting 5 feet away listening to it, it would be a background noise to me too. I always like thinking about how much of human history must have had the background noise of somebody spinning. You know? Like how many people made dinner to the noise of some family members spinning? Probably a lot. It's nice to think about. There's definitely easier and harder sections of this. I was talking about it a little earlier in the stream. I did not blend this particularly thoroughly. So there's like chunks of Flax and there's chunks of Southdown. And obviously they draft up quite differently. Especially because the staple length of the Southdown is very short, and the staple length of the Flax is, I mean, it's not long, but it's certainly probably like 3 or 4 times longer. So they're very different. But it's way more spinnable than I thought it would be. Like when I made this, I was honestly like, I wonder if I'm wasting this fiber. I wonder if I'm going to get anything out of it. And I definitely will, which is pretty exciting. Yeah. I also think a lot about the background noises that we don't necessarily hear anymore. Like, have you ever heard a bone flute? But those were really common for such a long time. Have you ever heard a bull roar? Again, they were so common for such a long time, but most people have probably never even heard of them at this point. And then certainly never heard them in person in the best environment to hear them, which would be a cave, of course. I don't know. Another sound that has all but disappeared would be like the sound of kerns, of stone grinding grain. That's pretty much gone. Like, I don't know a single person who grinds their own grain, let me tell you, especially not on a stone kern. But it's got such a distinctive sound, and it's a really beautiful sound too. And so many people must have had that as the background noise to their life for so long. It's kind of crazy that nobody hears it anymore. So here's our second bobbin. They're about equal. I don't mind that they're not perfect. That's fine. It's part flax. It's about 50% flax, 50% Southdown baby doll. Yeah, it's an odd blend. It's quite possibly not a blend anyone else has ever spun, because it's such a weird one, and I don't know why you'd mix it in most cases. So it was really just quite experimental, but I'm liking it. I'll see if I can get a close-up and show you with the world's worst camera. Oh, hi, Chuck. She's right here, and she's very interested. Let's see. Maybe you can tell, maybe not, but the lighter sections are flax, and the darker sections are baby doll. What is Southdown? Southdown is a breed of sheep from the Downs in Britain, as you might guess from the name. And Southdown baby doll is specifically, it's a type of Southdown that is bred to be smaller. And I personally find that their wool is softer and shorter and a little springier, and I really like it. I love Southdown baby doll wool. It's definitely one of my favorites, and I've spun a ton of it over the years. It's not easy to spin, though, because the staple length is really short and it's really crimpy. And it also tends to be full of grit. I don't know why. I think just like it's either the fact that that the sheep really like to roll around in gravel, which I don't know if they do, but if they do, that would do it. Or it's just how crimpy the actual wool is that makes it like really hard to wash that stuff out or to mill it out. So yeah, it's not an easy wool to work with, but it's very rewarding, I think. Yeah, I do find the process of switching bobbins on the espinner to be a lot more tedious than on my wheel. It just feels a little bit more inelegant. Oh, hi, Chuck. She's here. You thought you couldn't mix wool and vegetable fiber, but maybe that's just some evangelical stuff. It's, see, I know that there's a bit in the Old Testament talking about how you should not mix flax and wool. And I'm pretty sure that's literally just for laundry purposes. Like, I'm 99% sure that it's because it's difficult to wash. That's actually one of the reasons why I'm spinning this, is because I was curious, like, is the difficulty washing it the only reason that we shouldn't do it? Or is there actually some other reason, like maybe it doesn't hold twist well, or I don't know. That's why I'm spinning it, was out of curiosity. But I think the fact that you can't easily launder it is reason enough in most cases. I'm having take-up problems, I know. In this case, I'm going to turn it into a bag. And you don't usually have to wash bags very often, so I really don't think that's going to matter. But, you know, you wouldn't, I don't think you'd want a pair of socks out of this stuff. I think that would suck. Like, you'd have a hard time washing the socks for sure. Chuck has, now that she's been in the spotlight, she's like, okay, I'm leaving. I'm done. She just needed her 5 minutes on TV. Ugh, the damn take-up. I remember the last fiber festival I went to, I saw a couple of demonstrators spinning on one of these, like the exact same model of espinner. And I was like, oh, I should go talk to them and see if maybe they know how to troubleshoot some problems I've been having. So I asked them, hey, how do you fix the take-up issue? And they were like, oh my God, you don't. You can't. It just does that. And that is, yeah, that's proven true. Why does that make it harder to wash? Good question. So, oh, hello again, Chuck. So, flax likes to be worked pretty hard. Like when you're washing it, it wants to be beaten. It wants to be like scrubbed. It wants boiling water. It wants the harshest possible treatment. Wool wants the opposite of that. Wool really wants gentle. It doesn't want agitation. It often doesn't want, it's like barely wrapping at all. It often doesn't want like heat, you know, so wool you have to treat a little bit more gently. So you wash them in very different ways. And so combining the two means that whatever way you wash it, you're going to be maybe washing half the fibers well, and then the other half kind of not at all. So that's my guess. And that probably would have been a bigger issue back when everybody was, you know, hand washing their clothes all the time. Not so much today, but in the past, yeah. Is flax even a good fiber for socks? I mean, you know, the oldest socks that we have are flax, I think. Like, is cotton a good fiber for socks? It really depends on what you're going for. I think, like, personally, I like wool for socks because I like really stretchy socks. Like, I want them to sort of have some compression to them. But in the past, people often used plant fibers for socks, especially because, like, fitted garment making was not very developed, especially when it comes to socks, which are such a difficult shape. Like the sock heel that you'll find on most commercial socks is a very modern invention. Sock heels looked different like incredibly different, and usually fit way worse just like 50 years ago. So yeah, I guess because construction techniques have changed quite a bit over time, you could get away with a flax sock, several thousand years ago, because you're probably making a tube sock and then holding it up with like garters or tying it in some other way to your clothes. Whereas these days, we really don't do that. We want our socks to stay in place as they are, which is why we use elastic if we're going to use cotton, or why we might use wool. I don't know. It's one of those things where like it just sort of depends on the cultural standards of what people want to wear. Like, is cotton good for blankets? Yeah, if you live in a hot climate, it's great for blankets. If you live in a cold climate, it sucks though. One of those things. Another thing I'm really curious about is the temperature of what this is going to be like, because flax is inherently cooling, and wool is not inherently anything, but it is a very good insulator. So I'm wondering, like, if I put an ice pack in a bag made of flax and wool, is the bag gonna get cold and stay cold? I don't know. I'm very curious. I also need a new lunch bag for work, because my old lunch bag, I just noticed it had a hole in it the other day. So I think I might actually try using it as a lunch bag once I turn it into a bag, at least briefly, to figure out the temperature properties of it, as one does. God, I was not struggling with the take up anywhere near this much on the last bobbin, and now it's like terrible. Our sock heels are so recent, yeah. Tube socks were the standard for a really long time. Tube socks with separated toes, because sandals, I mean, hell, they didn't even have left and right shoes until like Roman Britain era, so 400 AD. Clothing standards have definitely changed a lot. But I've knit a couple of like World War II pattern things, because there's a whole lot of patterns that were published by Red Cross, in the 30s and 40s, basically trying to get some good, solid, standardized clothes going to the Allied troops, and they're so different. Like World War II socks, so incredibly different from any sock you would knit today for yourself. It's really interesting. They're not comfortable either, or at least I thought they were super uncomfortable. Left and right shoes also make sense, but that's mind-blowing. I know, right? Like, I cannot imagine both of my shoes being identical. I feel like it'd be so uncomfortable. I guess like that's probably why open-toed shoes were a thing for so long. Because then you don't have to worry about the fact that like most people's feet are not symmetrical necessarily. I would definitely wear open-toed shoes if the shoes weren't left and right. All right, now we're getting somewhere with the tension. I wonder if it was just because the bobbin was too light, which is really annoying if so, because there's nothing I can do about that. Bobbin was too light, which is really annoying if so, because there's nothing I can do about that. I really don't understand this espinner at all. Like, I mean, I do understand how it functions, at least enough that I can explain it to others. But in terms of like troubleshooting it, I don't know what's going on most of the time. There's a couple things I've picked up, but for one, this is probably my least used spinning tool. And for another, I am something of a Luddite and just not good with technology in general. So I don't know. Reminds you a bit of those mittens that have thumbs on both sides, which makes sense for if you lose one. Yeah, I love those mittens. I really want to make a pair, actually. I think another useful trait of the two thumbs thing is that because you can wear it on either hand, the palm doesn't wear out so fast. Because typically with mittens, especially if you're like a sailor or whatever and using your hands a lot, the palm is going to wear out long before the back of the hand does. So if you can switch them, then your gloves would last twice as long. But also, it looks like you're constantly giving a thumbs up, which is cool. I'm just intrigued by the idea. I really want to make a pair at some point. Now, one interesting thing is that while people historically have not, to my knowledge, I might be wrong when it comes to some cultures, but to my knowledge, historically, people do not tend to mix wool and plant fibers in this way. We have mixed like human hair and wool. Like for quite a long time, before nylon was a thing, you might hold a strand of human hair alongside your wool as you were knitting, because human hair has abrasion-resistant properties, and it's very strong too, much like flax. And so it was doing the same thing. I guess it's the fact that you can wash human hair and wool in the exact same manner probably means that it was less of a problem when it came to actually laundering the item. I would guess that is why it was less taboo. Because like the idea of, you know, putting human hair into your clothes these days is probably quite off-putting to most people. And for fair reason. I mean, I would not be okay with putting anybody other than my own hair into it, and even with my own hair, I'd feel a little weird. It's a moot point because I have my head shaved, and I've had it shaved for a very long time. I'm certainly not growing it out now, but I do sometimes think about growing it out just so that I can experiment with human hair wool socks. I'm probably not going to, but I've thought about it a couple of times. You know, I did think that this was going to be a very quick spin and a very short stream, but we are already at about 40 minutes. And I think I'm only like halfway done. Maybe 2/3 of the way done. So going to be a decent length stream, which I'm glad for. Because I was like rushing around pre-stream trying to find more of this fiber, thinking I'd blend it more. And then when I couldn't find it, I was like, okay, 20-minute stream it is, but thankfully, no. So the next stream is going to be applying this on my treadle wheel. Reason being that this e-spinner is horrible at plying. It's absolutely pointless to try and ply on it. Saying you don't want strangers to curse you. Yeah, I guess that would be a pretty easy way to I still haven't decided how I'm going to apply this. I feel like a 2-ply could be interesting. A 3-ply would probably be like strong enough to make a really good bag, but it would also waste a lot of yardage. I definitely can't like leave it as a singles. That's the only thing that I'm positive about. I probably will 2-ply it. but I'm worried it's not going to be really strong. Like the Flax is strong, but the Southdown is super weak. Just this particular roving is really, really short stapled and not very high quality. So we'll see. You have donated hair for wigs when it was long, but that's different. Yeah, same here. I grew up my hair to like a foot long and donated that to you. I think it's different when people are like asking for it and have a legitimate need for it. To a barber shop and just picking up hair clippings off the floor. That's very like a very different vibe, I feel like, than using a human hair wig. Incredibly different vibe. Well, now I'm getting into a good groove of drafting it. It's because of the blends, it's sort of hard to anticipate how you need to draft each little bit, but I'm finding if I hold on real tight at the drafting triangle and then just pull, which is not how I typically draft at all, it's very nice and even. I do wish I'd discovered that sooner, but good to know for now. I also wonder if it's going to puff up at all. Southdown tends to puff up a ton when it's blocked, and linen obviously does not puff up at all. In fact, it often gets a little bit slimmer, I've found. So I'm curious. It's all going to puff up, or if just like certain bits of it where there's a lot of Southdown are going to puff up, or what? I don't know. It's getting sort of dark in here. I might pause briefly to turn on the overhead light. The only problem is I don't know where I put my sunglasses, and it kind of sounds like it would be painful, but we'll see. I can tell it's getting really grainy, and that's not what I'm going for with the strain. That said, it is always grainy, so. All right. Yeah, I think I'm going to turn on the light. I will be back in just like half a second. It's right next to me, so makes it pretty easy. Ah. Is that too bright? I hope not. All right. Oh, hi, Chuck. Now, yeah. She's recovering from her catnip. She had a lot of catnip. Hi, Chuck. Lots to sniff, she says. I was letting her sniff the yarn that I made for her bed, and she was very into it. I had to stop her from tearing it to shreds. So I think that's a good sign. She usually doesn't try to tear things to shreds when it's like actually a finished object. But when it's in yarn form, yes. And then when it's in finished object form, she just like smells it for a really long time. So I think it should be pretty promising. We are slowly reaching the end in this. It looks like we are going to have 3 bobbins after all. 3 partially full bobbins. Chuck, this is not a flattering angle for you, bro. She approves of it? Yes. She approves of most spinning. Oh, buddy, you're gonna, like, get caught. No? Okay, good. I'm worried her whiskers are gonna get caught in the thing. It's not like, I mean, I've got my hand caught in it before, and it's not painful, because it's really light, even though it's going pretty fast, but I think whiskers might hurt a little more, so. Yeah, I think we're definitely going to 2-ply it just for yardage purposes. But I will probably do a pretty aggressive amount of twist on the ply so that it's a little bit stronger. Because I'm getting the feeling that if I make a bag out of this and then put something heavy in it, it's just going to like fall right through. It doesn't feel like a very substantial yarn, that's for sure. You know flax is strong, but can it deform? Or is that more of a knitting issue? That's a good question. I don't think flax tends to deform. Like, it'll wrinkle like crazy. But it's sort of... It's not one of those things where once you stretch it out, it's ruined, like alpaca kind of is. And really, the flax isn't what I'm concerned about at all. It's the Southdown. The Southdown is just so weak. And that's not Southdown in general. That is just specifically this crummy roving that I bought many years ago and have been slowly trying to use up. Like, I've made socks out of this Southdown, and I basically shredded them within a couple of days, which was very sad. So I know it's a very weak fiber. I just wanted to use it, like use it up, you know. Even weak fibers have their purposes, like everything. You know, you can make bags that are just not intended to carry heavy things. That's certainly fine. But in terms of like knitting and deforming, I don't think knitting really deforms either. It'll always spring back into shape once you get it wet again. And there are a couple, like there are certain special cases where you can really mess it up. Like if you have a really big alpaca blanket, for example, that's been knit, and you're like pulling it out of the washer and you pull one end and just like drag it all out that way, you will probably deform it. But that's because one, when it's wet, it's much heavier, and two, alpaca has like no memory really. It doesn't remember what it was before, so it's not going to spring back to that shape. Not true of wool. Not really true of flax. So yeah, mostly just an alpaca issue, really. Oh, I see. You were more thinking of, is the way that it's knit / woven what makes it resistant or not? That definitely has a big impact, but it's not like the be all end all. Like if I were to weave a twill with this, it would probably make a pretty nice strong bag. But twill is a pretty strong weave. Whereas if I were to do like triple crochet, that's a pretty weak crochet stitch, and that would not do well. Stockinette isn't super strong either. I mean, there's really not a lot of reinforcement going on with stockinette. So I don't think I would knit this. I think I'm probably gonna crochet, like single crochet it, because that's a dense and fairly durable structure, I feel. But I haven't decided yet. I might knit with it. It really depends on how it looks and feels once I've blocked it. On the last little handful now. Yay. It's good to know for alpaca. It's the fiber you had the most fun spinning, so you'll return to it eventually. It is a great fiber. Like, don't get me wrong. It has many good uses. And I don't think the fact that it has no memory is, like, that's not a reason to not spin it. You know, it's just something to be aware of so that you don't inadvertently ruin your beautiful handspun piece. Oh, I just realized with this amount of fiber left, the reason why I was having so many take-up issues, which is that this was not, like, the tension band was not actually on the fucking bobbin. So that explains that, and it's very, it's too stupid really for me to be annoyed. That's so funny. I always do that. Ugh. All right. All right, go on the bobbin. Come on. There we go. One thing about these little wire hooks is that they tend to like snag the fiber, and then it's really hard to actually continue spinning because it doesn't want to do anything anymore. It just wants to stay where it is and gather more twist. Like, it's annoying, but yeah. I'm glad I figured that out though, because that means that it's not, like, it works better than I thought it did, you know? All right. As you can see, you sort of have to disassemble this thing every time you're changing bobbins, and I'm just not a fan of all that. It's just a little troublesome for me. But it's really not a big deal, as long as you can get it back on. I'm just changing the bobbin so that it's on, like, so that it's fresh for when I feel like spinning it later. But assuming I can relieve Chuck of these bobbins, can I? Are you gonna bite me? She's benevolently decided not to bite me. So I got these. I think that's about an ounce / hey. I mean, an ounce is 28 grams, but yeah, it's about that much, I think, is my guess. New little guy. That. Yeah, so the next stream we're going to be plying these, probably 2 plying. I'm very excited, but I also don't have the time to do it tonight. So it will not be tonight, but maybe tomorrow, because I'm very motivated right now. Because it's so simple, you know? Wow, there is a lot of grossness in here. I might just briefly kind of clean this thing before I forget, because I'm literally looking at like flax that's just sort of embedded in here, and that cannot really be helping my situation. I don't know how to take this off though. I've never fully disassembled it. I don't know how to take this off though. I've never fully disassembled it. But yeah, I'm pulling out flax hairs here. God, I really thought this thing came off. Yes, it does. Ah, just not easily. Yuck. Look at that. Oh, you probably can't tell at all. Yeah, that band of flax is not supposed to be on there. That's just from what I was spinning. I'm actually kind of shocked that there's nothing else in there because I've spun a lot of wool on here. Just, I guess flax is really what sticks in, which is good to know. It's probably not the best method for spinning flax. Oh man, really difficult. There we go. All right. Yeah. So yeah, this is my. Oh, it's a nano e-spinner. That's what it's called. Took me the entire stream to remember what it's called. EEW Nano, and it was. I think it's version 1 or version 2. Yeah, it was about $120 pre-COVID time, and it's not great, but it does spin. I would definitely buy something a little bit nicer. Like if I could do this over again, I would have sprung for something like 3 times the cost. That probably would have been a lot better. But I still can't do that. So anyway, thank you both for joining me. This has been quite a nice stream. I always love my streams with everybody who's watching. And feel free to tune in next time if you'd like to. I try and post about an hour in advance on Tumblr that I will be streaming because I find that seems to be a pretty good amount of time for people to, get settled and everything. So I usually post in advance on Tumblr. But then also you can always watch the old streams back. So there's that too. Anyway, thank you for hanging out with me while I spun all of this stuff. And I hope you tune in next time when I apply it. But have a good evening. Chuck also says have a good evening. Good night.